Robert Mordecai here. I want to show you guys something really amazing. Look at this. This is one of the greatest buildings you will ever see in your life. It's been here for over 4,000 years and it's never fallen. I'm in Hebron. We know how many wars have existed in Israel, battles, this, the whole thing. This place has never fallen. And not only that, you have Abraham and Sarah buried here, Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve. You have Isaac and Rebecca, Yaakov Avinu and Leah, all buried here. So I'm going to go upstairs soon, but I want to just share an idea. A lot of times people see what's going on in the world, in the secular world, in the Jewish world, and people become disheartened, They see the generations going lower and lower and lower. Things, people say like, if David Melech, if King David was alive, what would he think about what's going on in the world? These types of things. And I understand. But there's a wisdom. There's a wisdom in things getting worse. There's a wisdom in things. Put the avos in the background. Look at that. Look at that. It's like golden. So it's the light. It's the light emanating from it. But there's a holiness in seeing the degeneration of awareness, of consciousness that we see here. And it's all building somewhere. The Midrashim say there were 7 things that were created in the beginning of creation. The 7th thing, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but the 7th thing that was created was the name of Mashiach. So the concept of Mashiach is now there's a lot of perspectives on it. What does Mashiach mean? How does it manifest? This, whatever. But we know Mashiach is an exist, and by the Midrashim explain this, we're not talking about something just physical, right? We're not saying something just physical. We're talking about a specific type of a energy influence that will manifest physically, like all the other things. That's why it's so good to go through the other 7 things in the Midrashim Rabbah, Bereshit Rabbah, and you go through it and you see all these things that were created. But Mashiach is one of them. So we when you look at the history, right? You look at our history as Jewish people, and you look at how the level from Adam Rishon, and Adam being the first man, and being able to connect to God on like this, on such a level, you know what I mean? He was able to see. He was like 200 feet tall. He could see like from one side of the galaxy to the other, the whole thing. And then he fell out of it, right? He fell out of Gan Eden. And you have Noah, and the generation of Noah was really terrible. And then God like kind of revamped the world after the flood of Noah. And later on we have Abraham, which is this kind of like perfected human being, right? And you have Yitzhak, I'm here right now. Yitzhak, Abraham, Yaakov, the whole thing, right? And so it's like this. Then we get into later, we have Yosef, and then eventually we have Moshe Rabbeinu, right? And so with Moshe Rabbeinu was the highest prophet ever. He was able to, the Torah says, panim to panim. He was like face to face with Hashem. He was able to see Hashem and connect to Hashem on such a level no one else will ever be able to do it. But he was the apex of that connection, right? This is the beginning of the Jewish people. And he took the Jews out of Egypt and formed a nation. And then so you have this like succession of lesser connections. So you have, the generation of Yehoshua. You have the generation of, the book of Judges. You had all these judges, which was a lower madrega than Yehoshua. And then you go into the book of Shmuel, and that's a lower generation, even from the level of judges. And then you go into the kings, and then we get back to this level again. Not the same level of Moshe Rabbeinu, but we get to this amazing level with David HaMelech. David HaMelech brings this whole new idea. He brings the Shekhinah back into the reality. And after David HaMelech, it's not the same level. You have Shlomo Melech. He comes and he builds a base of Mikdash where the Shekhinah dwelled, and then from there, it's all downhill, right? The base of Mikdash falls, generations later, and we go into different levels, So you have the generations of Moshe Rabbeinu, you have the generations of Yehoshua, you have the generations, you could say the elders, and you have the generations of the prophets, and then you have the generation of the Sanhedrin. Then you have, after that, you have the generations go down, right? You have the generations of the pairs, Shemai Hillel. Then you go down to the generation of the Tanaim, which is the organization, Yehudim Nasi, organizing the Mishnah. And then you go into the generations of the Amoraim, the Gemara, and it goes on and on, Rishonim, Achronim, the whole thing, right? But every generation goes lower and lower and lower, right? But the thing is like this. It's not just in the Masorah of the Jewish people. This is also expressing the world in general, right? The world in general, the spirituality goes lower and lower and lower. So where's the point? Where am I going with this? On Purim, what is one of the big mitzvahs of Purim? Reading the Megillah, right? And one of the mitzvahs of reading the Megillah is making sure that the Megillah is totally open. It's totally wide open from the beginning to the end. It's totally open. Not like on Shabbat, when we're reading from a Torah scroll, and in the Torah scroll, we're going like pasuk to pasuk, type of a thing. We're unrolling it. We unravel as we go on Shabbos, right? That's not the point. The point is over here is to say that on Purim we open the whole Megillah, the whole thing, right? And what is one of the main ideas about the Megillah? Is that Hashem's name is not in it, right? Hashem's name is not explicitly expressed. Like if you read the Torah, you'll see Hashem this and Elohim and all these different names of God expressed, right? So that's not inside the Megillah, but the Nakuda, the idea of the Megillah is that when you open the whole Megillah and you see the story from the beginning to the end, you see Hashem, right? So it's a mitzvah, it's a halakha for it to be a kosher Megillah reading, for it to be totally opened up, right? So it's this idea of like when you see the experience from all the way from Adam Rishon, right? The first man, all the way to the destruction of the temple, all the way to where we are today, living in diaspora as Jews, living amongst other nations, influenced by very not Torah ideas and suffering. I heard a horrible statistic that 70% of secular Jews in America are intermarrying, all types of things, right? Which means their grandkids will more than likely are not going to be Jews, part of this whole redemption. But the thing is like this. At the end of the day, when we open up the whole Megillah of our lives, of the whole story of the Jewish people, of humanity, we'll see that we have to go lower in order to go higher. Like, when I say have to, I'm saying it was already prophesized by our prophets that we were going to go through these very difficult experiences in the Galut, that people are going to get lost and they were never going to return, and even entire tribes are going to be gone, and these types of things, and individuals will return, but not the tribes themselves. Not just some, I'm not saying all, it's machlokas. But the point is like this. When we look at the whole picture of everything, and we see how everything comes together, we'll see the holiness and how things are going down. That doesn't mean we have to go down. But seeing the world around us go down is a testament to the prophetic vision of our prophets, in the fact that Mashiach is a part of a creative system. Not just the person that comes and redeems, but is part of the fabric of the reality, right? That's why I brought the Midrash to start with, because it's part of that reality. So over here, if we could see the world in the degenerations and in the negativities, and how those things are part of the whole redemptive process, we could also look at our lives. And we could also look at our lives and say, hey, you know what? I made mistakes in my life. I did things that weren't the right thing, and I went down. But there is also a personal redemption, that I could personally redeem myself and reconnect myself to the Creator on the highest level. So the bracha to everybody, before I go in here and daven mincha, is that we see the bracha in the mistakes that we make and the fact that we can redeem ourselves. And in this month of Elul, before we go to Rosh Hashanah, this is the power we have. Shana Tova.